Look at this map of South Asia. Right next door to India, a country with strict prohibitions on gambling, sits Sri Lanka. For years, high-net-worth tourists have been crossing the ocean, bringing their wealth to a place where they can play freely. Inside Sri Lanka, this demand built a massive physical industry, expansive casino floors, luxury tables, and millions of dollars changing hands every single night. But despite this endless influx of foreign capital, the Sri Lankan government was missing out on the economic benefits. There was no dedicated regulatory institute to monitor the cash flow or enforce operational standards. When a booming industry is driven entirely by foreign demand but operates completely in the shadows, it stops being a national asset. It becomes a massive liability. Historically, the Sri Lankan gambling market operated almost entirely in the dark. Operators ran their businesses without a centralized authority tracking the chips or inspecting the premises. This regulatory vacuum created three distinct vulnerabilities: millions of rupees in uncollected tax revenue bleeding out of the system, a high exposure to international money laundering, and an absolute absence of safeguards to protect the local population from gambling addiction. Instead of attempting an outright ban, which rarely works against deeply entrenched demand, the new NPP government chose a different path. They decided to formally regulate and tax the sector. The mechanism for this overhaul is the Gambling Regulatory Authority Act, No. 17 of 2025. True national sovereignty requires economic oversight. A government simply cannot collect revenue on, or protect its citizens from, an industry it refuses to measure. The primary objective of the new act is compliance. It forces every operator, whether they run a physical casino floor or a digital betting platform, out of the shadows and into a strict, standardized licensing system. A key target is junket operators, businesses that arrange travel to funnel foreign VIPs into local casinos. The law requires them to be explicitly licensed, and before a single card is dealt, physical casinos must pass inspection, maintaining strict safety, security, and hygiene standards. Once inside, the money is heavily monitored. All gambling transactions must now flow through centralized cash desks, creating a verifiable paper trail for every chip bought and cashed out. These strict requirements legitimize the market. By enforcing these rules, the state converts unpredictable cash flows into a reliable engine for national taxation. Capturing revenue is only half of the equation. The act also builds heavy defensive mechanisms to prevent the industry from being hijacked by organized crime. The law establishes a new board of management with serious enforcement muscle, integrating police, tax, and financial intelligence heads. This board holds aggressive operational powers. Authorized officers can search premises without warrants, examine financial records, and immediately suspend the licenses of rule breakers. Operators are also required to conduct continuous risk assessments. They must actively monitor for suspicious transactions to block the laundering of criminal proceeds through their casino floors. A regulatory framework relies entirely on the people enforcing it. By integrating police and financial intelligence directly into the oversight board, the state is explicitly weaponized to hunt and prosecute financial crime. Maximizing foreign revenue cannot come at the expense of domestic social stability. The government mandated specific social guardrails to insulate the local population. The act implements hardline age restrictions. It is now a criminal offense to allow anyone under 18 to gamble, and casinos are prohibited from employing anyone under 21. These protections extend into the digital frontier. Developers who build and distribute online gambling software must now hold a specific digital gambling license, and that software cannot operate freely. It must be hard-coded with mandatory safety features, including user-controlled spending limits, active session timers, and systems identifying self-excluded individuals. True economic development extracts tax revenue from foreign luxury markets while simultaneously building a wall to protect its most vulnerable citizens from the associated risks. With a single piece of legislation, Sri Lanka swept away its colonial-era gaming ordinances. In their place sits a strict framework that transfers control from private, unregulated operators back to the state. The tax-leaking shadow economy of the past has been replaced by a transparent, verifiable system designed to generate reliable public funds. By looking at the massive pent-up demand for gambling across South Asia, Sri Lanka mapped out a highly effective geopolitical strategy. They formalized an existing market into a safe, competitive domestic asset. By choosing comprehensive regulation over passive ignorance, the government proved that strong oversight can transform a perceived economic vice into a functional pillar of national sovereignty.